Good morning. I left this morning at about 6 o'clock BTC area and I'm on my way to Kampung Muara Tebas. I just passed the port of Ching, and what I stopped here for is to show you something. Over here at this stall there are two abacuses hanging. This is one of the reasons why I cycle. This kind of things in a car you will miss when you pass by. The abacus is kind of a calculator. It is an ancient calculator, and I must say it is pretty fast. I have seen it being used many years ago in the early 80s when I was in Singapore, but today you won't see it anymore. But here along the roadside someone has still been using it. That is unique, and that's why I like to cycle, to see and catch this kind of thing. I'm at the crossroads where on that side is Banco National Park and on that side is Muara Tebas. I'm going to Muara Tebas, but let's first explain a few things about Banco. Banco became a national park in 1957. That's a year before I was born, 65 years ago. Now, Banco is one of the smaller national parks, but it has a few advantages. For sure you will see live wildlife here, no doubt about it. With all the other national parks it's kind of a luck, but not here. From all the vegetation that is available here in Borneo, most of them are also available over here in Banco National Park. In Banco National Park there are about 275 proboscis monkeys. The male can be recognized by its nose and its belly, almost like a human. The best times to see these monkeys is early in the morning or when it moves towards dusk. In Banco there also are some white beaches, very lovely to see and to go to at the end of your trekking. All the trekking trails in Banco are marked with color codes. The smallest one is 250 meters and the largest is almost 6 kilometers. You go up the hills, you go down the hills, the paths are not too bad. Although I have to say, a friend of mine who was in his late second half of his 70s, he had some difficulties following the paths, so make sure you do it before you get too old. Banco also offers the opportunity to do some night camping. To make sure that you can go in, that is not fully booked, especially the night camping, make sure you book online. I will share the link with you later. The park is open daily from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. Let's go to Muara Tebas. I arrived at Muara Tebas. Muara Tebas is a typical Malay village, fishing village to be precise. What's in a name? Muara. In English that means estuary. Estuary is the place where a river that is flowing to the sea, and the sea has its high and low tide. With high tide it comes in and low tide it goes back. Where these two meet is Muara or Estuary. A good name for this place. Tebas. Tebas means cut or clear the land. So where the sea and the river meet, they cleared the land and made this tiny fisherman's village. Now going back in history a bit, in the olden days what we needed to do to preserve fish was either fermenting or you put them in salt. Dry them as salt. So one of the popular fishes over here is kingfish, dried, salted. In local language that is tingiri. Another popular fish to dry is the anchovies, called ikan bilis. And there are many other types of fish that can be dried and salted. So you can imagine if the fisherman comes from the sea, arrives in his fisherman's village, he can immediately offload the fish and they can start drying, cutting it, cleaning it in the olden days, don't forget them. So nowadays that's all more easy because we all have got ice, we put them in the fridge, in the freezers and things like that, yeah? Okay. Now there are two stories about this place with respect to the Chinese temple that's over here and a water pit. So the story goes like this. The first story about the water pit is that traders, some 200 years back, they came over here, built a water pit to get fresh water. Because in those days we need to think there was nothing on board of a ship, those wooden sailing ships, to actually make fresh water. So water and fresh fruits, fresh vegetables was important for all these traders and people who are sailing along the world. So this fisherman's village where they made this fresh water pit was a place where they maybe could get just some fish, those dried fish, to take back home or even to use for consumption, but also to fill their water barrels with fresh water. Because once you're on the sea, the only time you can get some more fresh water, if it rains, the rain, first you let it flush through the sky, get all the salt out of the air, and then once it is a bit fresh water, you can collect it in those water barrels. But that's the only way in those days to get fresh water, or to go on shore. Now, the story goes like, who builds that temple? So, one good story is it were those people who were so grateful that they got a water pit over here in this land and things like that. But then I think to myself, if you are a trader, you want to do business. Even in those days, time was money. Maybe not as precious as today, or we don't, but still. So I have a bit my doubts about that part of the story. The other story says that the Chinese immigrants built that temple, which is a bit more likely because they have more time to build that temple. Now let's go into this village and see what we see there. Morning. So I'm at the Muara Tebas Temple. The official name is the Ching San Yen Temple. It's built 200 years ago and it is at the moment a national monument for Sarawak. A lot of incense sticks to sell for the people to burn. Goddess of the sea. The temple is open from 6 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. As you can see, people already offered a few things to the gods. Oranges are one of the most popular items that are being offered. For those who want to, you even can get some nice blessed water over here. Down below you can see the Fishermans Boat. Still high tide at the moment. You can see it because with low tide these fishermen's boats, they will be resting on the sea floor. In the background you can see Banco Natural Park. Now you can imagine I'm over here at this village, this temple, which is 40 meters high. Now you imagine you're on top of that mountain. What kind of a beautiful view you must have from there. No? Good. We have over here, we are at the temple still having an overlook over the Sarawak River. You can see there on the far end is Estuary port. Ching has two ports. One is Pending and the other one is Estuary. Pending can handle about 7 million tons a year and Estuary can handle 22 million tons a year. What Borneo is an island, so whatever they don't produce they need to import either by air or by sea. That's why they have two ports, seaports. Pending Airport, if you follow the bend over there in the river, you turn to the left, or port side as the naval merchants say, there is Pending Port. You also see on the left, if you follow this river upstream, there is also a docking yard. Now let's take a nice panorama shot over here of the Sarawak River all the way up to Banco Natural Park. Good. Let's have a look. So here is Sarawak River, and down there you can see the fisherman boat. The Malay village with all the fishermen. Now as I mentioned, let me have a look at them. So down here is the power generation plant. And down there we have the harbour, the port. Then around that corner on that side is the other port from Pending. Now I go down one step and what you see over here is the nice view of these pagodas, and on the backyard, or the back, you can see Banco Natural Park. What a beautiful sight. Now on top of this fisherman boat you see quite a number of lights. That's how they fish. So the nets go outside the boat, they put all these lights on to attract the fish. The fish comes up to the light and gets caught into the nets. Muara Tebas is also very rich on seafood restaurants, and down here I think is even a seafood factory. Behind me is the bald-headed hill. something like my hat. It's the early place where the traders settled down. Time to slowly go back to Kuching. At the moment it is 26 degrees. The temperature will go up to 31 later on, and 2 o'clock in the afternoon we will have thunderstorms. Lately, with all the rain and the heat, the humidity is pretty high, and that makes it over here with very sticky days. For cyclists, don't go over the top. Be sure you come home safely, more important than speed and time. Today is for the Muslims the first day of the Ramadan or the fasting period. This year it overlaps with the Christian fasting period for 2 weeks. Next year, because the Muslims calendar is based on 28 days and the moon, next year it will move forward, and then we have a larger overlap in the fasting period.